Morning, everyone, and welcome to the Libri Kick-Off meeting. It's indeed an honor and a pleasure for me to moderate this session this morning. My name is Mampe Chaba, Chief Director responsible for multilateral cooperation and Africa engagements from the Department of Science and Innovation in South Africa. I would like to ask you a big question on this very auspicious occasion today. How do you feel this morning? Coming through to the launch of the Libri, please respond on the chat to the question, how do you feel this morning? So without further ado, I would like to introduce our first speaker, who will also welcome you all and do an icebreaker. His name is Mr. Dan du Toit. He's the Deputy Director, Department of Science and Innovation, and also my boss. So if you are ready, Dan, please go ahead. Please do not forget to respond to the question in one word. How do you feel? How are you doing this morning? Dan, over to you.
Thank you very much, Mampe, for that introduction. I'm not sure about the word boss. We're really good colleagues and good partners. Dear colleagues and friends, and I know there are many old friends gathered here together. It's really a privilege for me to speak to you this morning on behalf of the South African government and the Department of Science and Innovation to welcome you all to what really is a historic milestone. And I use those words very carefully because there's sometimes a temptation to use that too easily. I also would just like to, without preempting the outcome of the poll, wish that you are all indeed doing very well this morning, that you're all safe, and indeed look forward to the exciting opportunities which will be presented by Libri. I said this is an historic milestone, and if I said so, I think I can do so quite safely, and that for three reasons. And that's what I really want to just reflect with you all this morning. If we look at Libri, of course, all of us know by now what is the acronym, but what is it really? It's a long-term Africa-European research and innovation partnership for renewable energy. And all elements of that long title is so strategic. If my minister, Dr. Bladen Zimandi, had opportunity to speak to you this morning, I'm sure he would have reflected on the many critical global challenges which we collectively as a planet face today and the role science and innovation plays in responding to those global challenges. And the minister would have spoken about the challenge of COVID-19. He would certainly have spoken about many other important challenges such as climate change and indeed poverty and inequality. And if we are going to defeat these global challenges, then certainly investment in renewable energy, research and innovation to enhance our capability to harness the potential of renewable energy is so imperative. Later today, you will have many experts who will be speaking to the details of the LEAP program. But I think sufficient to say that when we speak today about government, civil society, our collective global response to global challenges, then renewable energy forms a critical part of that agenda. I think very interestingly, in our ministry, we have compared notes with sister governments across the world, elsewhere in Africa, in Europe and Asia. We are all engaged with economic reconstruction and recovery plans to also mitigate the economic impact of COVID-19. And without exception, in all of those...
We seem to have a problem with Mr. du Toit's connection.
Can you not hear me?
No, we can hear you.
Can hear you.
Good.
Are you able to hear Mr. Dan du Toit?
They say they can hear me. So I will perhaps continue, unless please just wave if you're not hearing me. But I think sufficient to say that the renewable energy is very much part, whether we call it a green economy, green technology, the Green Deal. There cannot be a more political, economic and social priority today than investment in renewable energy. And we are also convinced this is an area which really offers rich potential for collaboration between Africa and Europe. So that's the first part, renewable energy. The second part, long-term partnership. Again, without abusing any cliches, LEAP-RE is quite unique. We have here a true example of a bi-regional partnership which is underpinned by the fundamental values of co-ownership and co-responsibility. Africa and Europe working together in tandem, setting the agenda jointly and through co-investment, taking joint responsibility for this partnership. And I think if we reflect on a long history of a very important research and innovation collaboration between Europe and Africa, LEAP-RE certainly heralds a new area where we see really meaningful and substantial Africa co-leadership and co-investment in the program. And I would really like to express my appreciation to my colleagues from sister governments elsewhere in Africa who have all committed to this very important program. But of course, this program is about a long-term vision, and it's about also bringing greater coherence to our partnership, trying to establish linkages and synergies between so many different aspects which forms part of the Africa-European partnership. So that's the second element, why this is so important, the long-term partnership. But then thirdly, just to reflect what this does on bringing Africa and Europe together. Now, again, one of the buzzwords people like us who live in the world of science policy and science and innovation often encounter is that of science diplomacy. But I think one would have to go very far to find a better example of what science diplomacy is in practice than the LEAP-RE example. Colleagues familiar with the definition of science diplomacy will know the well-known three definitions, starting, of course, with science in diplomacy, and that is that many of the critical global issues which are confronting us relates to science-intensive issues, and renewable energy, climate change is on top of that agenda. But it's also diplomacy for science. How do we use international collaboration to develop and enhance scientific collaboration? And I think for the innovative mechanisms and programs which LEAP-RE is proposing, it's making a real concrete example of harnessing diplomacy for science. But I would like to conclude with the third dimension, which can never be not repeated enough, and that is the role of diplomacy, or rather science for diplomacy. And that is the role, this unique ability science has to bring people and countries and regions together, irrespective of the geographic, the linguistic, cultural, or economic, or other factors which may divide us. And I'm sure we will all agree, as the past year has shown us, we share many, many common challenges on this planet, but we can only address them if we unite, and science has that ability to bring countries and regions together. And I think for that reason alone LEAP-RE is deserves our support. I would just then like to conclude to reiterate the full commitment from the South African government to work in partnership with our sister governments elsewhere in Africa, under the valued leadership of the African Union Commission, and then in partnership with all our friends in Europe. I think I would specifically like to pay tribute and appreciate the outstanding support from the European Commission through the various support actions under Horizon 2020 to enable us to launch this program, and then, of course, the governments of the member states in Europe. We are certainly very excited and look forward to this unique program. With those few words, I'm not sure if that has helped to break the ice, but hopefully my enthusiasm, which I hope you can feel wherever you are, the warmth and the realness of my enthusiasm has helped to break the ice. And I wish you all really everything of the best for not only for the next 2 days, for the opening meeting today, but indeed for the rest of the program. And I will follow that with much interest. And as I've said, you can count on our support. Best wishes to all, and please continue to stay safe. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dan for those very encouraging words. I'm sure all of the partners are feeling as excited and as enthusiastic also to join this LEAP-RE program. I have seen from the one-word answers that people are excited, they're feeling great, they're feeling super, they can't wait for the LEAP-RE to really start in earnest and for implemented in supporting a renewable energy drive for both our continents. So with that, I would like to call upon our next speaker, Mr. Vincent Chauvet, who's the Program Coordinator and CEO of LGI, which is also a co-partner or co-coordinator in the LEAP-RE program. Mr. Chauvet, over to you, please.
Yes, thank you. Well, first of all, I think Dan has set the bar quite high. both from the project. I think you very well expressed the challenges and the opportunities that we're facing. You're also setting the bar high for my speech after you. So I will not paraphrase. I will not dare to paraphrase what you said on the challenges and the opportunities that are addressed by LEAP. I think, and I hope around the table and in the consortium, we're all very much aware of the potential of renewable energy, and I would say the lighthouse that this project can be in terms of Euro-African cooperation in the field. So I will just say in a few words that I'm very glad to be here with all of you today, because it's been quite a long road since the inception of pre-LEAP-RE, which was the preparatory project for LEAP-RE. That was a few years ago, and pre-LEAP-RE was already quite challenging. We had to align on a number of strategic orientations, and this is always tough whenever you speak about cooperation, and even more so when you have so many partners and two continents. After that, we had to, set up a proposal for LEAP-RE, which was convincing enough for the European Commission and its evaluators, and we were very glad to, when we got that answer, that the project was selected. So I think, that was really an achievement. But obviously, the main challenges are ahead. The road is even longer ahead. And as you said very well, this project can be a landmark project in Europe-Africa cooperation. And so we have big opportunities, big potential, and obviously big challenges to get there. I think this is the largest project I've been in and I've been aware of, with 83 partners. This is not something that we see commonly in the EU program landscape. But obviously, with this number of partners and this community, we can create momentum and I think make a difference on the long run. One of the purposes of the project and one of its, I would say, strategic aims is to build a long-term partnership. This is not just a research and innovation project. It's going beyond that. It's really setting the scene for long-term cooperation. And obviously, we will extensively explain and present today and tomorrow how we foresee to work to reach this ambition, both to have a successful project implementation and to really look to the future and then really set the basis for this long-term cooperation, which obviously will need to rely and build on efficient work together. So cooperation is really one of the key words here, and building trust. I would dare to say that most of the partners around the table don't really know all of each other yet. At least that's my case. One of the first challenges will be to create a spirit of a community and to build trust between the partners. I think this will be essential to the success of our endeavor here. Obviously, as everybody, we would have preferred to meet face to face, and we all hope that this will be feasible in the short to mid-term. So this will also help in building that community, and I really hope that we will be able to have our first project workshop physically sometime not too far away. To not take more time, I just want to acknowledge the support of the European Commission in helping us put this together, and I know all the grant agreement preparation phase was quite challenging as well, and the European Commission was very supportive. So I'd like to really acknowledge their support. And just to conclude, I really look forward. Many challenges ahead, but we have, I think, the right people to address them. And I really look forward to this project. I'm sure it'll be very exciting. I don't expect it'll be a long, winding road. I'm sure there will be some bumps, but that's the case for all projects. And I think the bigger the project, the more bumps you encounter, but that's fine. And yeah, I really look forward to this. It's very exciting. Thank you. Did we lose our moderator? We cannot hear you. No, we can't hear you. Sorry.
Okay, we seem to have lost Mampe Chaba there from the DSI. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. She did indicate to me that she was having connection problems and requested that I be on standby just in case the problem persisted. So I will be assisting her with the moderation this morning. I am not sure. We had an icebreaker this morning, and one of the first questions which we asked was, how are you doing today? And I'd like to invite all the participants that are connected to this meeting to also indicate which country you are connecting from. So that's part of the second question for our icebreaker. Which country are you connecting from? And if you can please just type that in the text box, which is contained on the screen. And on that note, I would like to introduce the next speaker this morning. Her name is Miss Leah Nayes. Apologies if I'm not pronouncing your surname correctly. Please do forgive me. She's from the African Union Commission, and she co-chairs the Climate Change and Sustainable Energy working group, which was constituted by the AU-EU High-Level Policy Dialogue on Science, Technology and Innovation. So I would like to invite Ms. Leah Nayes to please take the stage and deliver your welcome remarks this morning. Thank you.
Sorry, it's Philippe Schill speaking. It's Leah was not able, in fact, to connect, so I will sort of speak on her behalf and myself of the CCSC working group.
Okay, no problem. Thank you for that. So colleagues, we are going to move to Mr. Philippe Shield, and he is a policy officer at the European Commission responsible for this project. And as he's already indicated, unfortunately, our colleague from the African Union Commission was unable to join. So we will move very swiftly with the program. I see colleagues are providing their responses. We've got people connecting from Tanzania, Zambia, Romania, Slovenia. I'll mention the other countries as we proceed. So Philippe, you can kindly take the floor. Thank you.
Thank you. I had prepared a presentation. I don't know if it can be seen. Okay, it's okay. I can sort of I can say it. So what I would like to first is sort of thanks the previous speakers for the introduction on the project, and especially also Dan, who has shown a strong enthusiasm. And in fact, I do also share the same feeling of enthusiasm. Because for myself, it is also the achievement today of a very long-term and long-time sort of activities. So what I'm going to show here is sort of a bit of the context of how we see it from the EU side, also on the research part and on the policy, and what I do, and we are looking forward for LIPRI. Next slide, please. Next slide. Thank you. What we did when we first sort of looked at sort of Africa, we were saying, okay, what is the situation in Africa? So we had a study made that looked at what was the landscape. Please go back to the one slide. And what we have seen was that, in fact, there was a lot of activities in renewable energy in Africa, covering all the renewable energy sources. Yes, thank you. You see that sort of from the classical hydropower power plant, even photovoltaics, even concentrated solar power systems, and covering the complete Africa in terms of countries, in terms of activities. So in terms of research, there was a lot of activity being made. That's we were at the time of the study, which was almost 9 years ago, not really known to us. Next slide, please. Next slide. Sorry. But when we found that sort of what we were looking forward, and this is something that sort of we did from the start, we wanted to work with Africa. And working with Africa mean that we wanted to work together to contribute to the fight against climate change, also to increase and help increase access to energy from renewable energy sources, to stimulate more renewable energy generation capacity, and to do two things at the same time: adapt technologies that are currently available in most of the developed country to the circumstance and the situation that exists in Africa, but also to develop new renewable energy technology that are specifically adapted to the African economic and environmental and social context. But also, and this is the last point, and this is also the center of our activities, is to have mutual benefit and trust in achieving this clean energy transition that is necessary for us on both sides, on the two continents. And the framework that we have to work in research and innovation has been set up already quite a while. Okay, sorry for the display, which doesn't seem to reflect. Well, it started in 2007 when the Joint African EU Strategy Summit, for one of the first time, highlighted and recognized the role of science, technology, and innovation as the driver to work together and to promote sort of collaboration. It was followed in 2010 by the setup of the EU-AU high-level policy dialogue on science, technology, and innovation. It is a platform to discuss science policies and to start implementing long-term priorities. And the first priority that the LHPD platform initiated was on food, nutrition, security, and sustainable agriculture, because obviously agriculture and food is very important, in fact, in Africa, but also in Europe. It was followed afterwards by another big challenge on climate change and sustainable energy. And now there is a new one created on innovation to promote sort of solutions that are being developed in our research project and to put them into the market. Next slide, please. The Climate Change and Sustainable Energy Partnership, in short, we tend to call it CCSE, in fact, combine two issues that are closely related, with our climate change and energy. because the energy system is impacting strongly on the climate. A rough figure says that about 75% of greenhouse gases emission comes from the energy system, either directly through the production or through the use of energy. So a roadmap was set up in look at climate actions for adaptation and mitigation and on sustainable energy. And for sustainable energy, the focus was on renewable energy, both production and use, but also on energy efficiency. I think it's not only needed that we need to produce energy, but we have to look also at the aspect of using more efficiently this energy. So we are reducing the waste that exists. What has been set up last year was an expert working group that's the main role are for monitoring and helping the partnership to get implemented. In fact, we had recently in February, a workshop initiated by this working group on the two aspects of resilience to COVID and also to help on the recovery, economic recovery. What we could do as a partnership and in science on climate change and sustainable energy. This expert working group and the partnership, as was said before, is co-chaired by the AUC, the African Commission, and from the European Commission. And we have this expert group is a mix of climate change and energy experts from both sides of the continent. So this is our research framework in terms of global policy. But next slide, please. But as Dan was saying, it happened in Africa and in South Africa. It's also happening in Europe. There is a lot of momentum starting. Next slide. Thank you. I think in 2019, the new Commission published and launched the European Green Deal, which is for this Commission, the leading and the framework policy on which all our policy will be and are done. The objectives are very ambitious. We are aiming at having Europe to be a climate neutral continent by 2050, but also to see Europe to be an exporter of knowledge, of technology and best practice, but also to strengthen, and it is in the document, to strengthen its engagement with Africa, with the wider deployment of renewable energy and trade also of clean energy. So even on higher political level, Africa is at a very important place in EU policy. And from this document, last year published a communication which is called Towards a Comprehensive Strategy with Africa. This is a roadmap to move forward and to bring the partnership with Africa to a next level. It does stress that from the European Union viewpoint, Africa is seen as a natural partner and a neighbor. So as good neighbor, we should trust each other and work together. Together, we can build a more prosperous and more peaceful and more sustainable future. This European Green Deal is also having impact on the EU strategy. One was also published last year, was an energy system integration strategy, where it's looking, the objective is to have a more efficient and a more circular system, energy system, where also waste energy is captured and reused. The concept of circular system or circular economy is one of the cornerstones of being a climate neutral. So is to see that all along the value chain, we do think of what is happening to everything, from how the energy is produced, how the components are being used, and how everything can be reused. Also, as part of the system integration, it's to look at a cleaner power system, but not only the electricity, because electricity will have a big influence on climate adaptation, and probably a very important piece of decarbonization of the industry and in the heating of both building and transport, but also as having a cleaner fuel system. So it's not only looking at electricity, but it's also looking at fuels and heating. What is happening at the moment at European level is we had a renewable energy directive, which was pushing to have at least 27% of renewable energy in the share as energy consumed in Europe. Through the Green Deal, now we are working to have much more ambitious target for 2030, and also to increase the climate change, the climate ambition. And all those political level decision had an impact, in fact, on our research activities. So we published in September last year our last call of H2020, Horizon 2020. It's called the Green Deal call, to try to attempt to have research activity to fulfill the European Green Deal. And we had introduced in that Green Deal call a dedicated topic which are looking for accelerating the green energy transition and the partnership with Africa. It is an innovation action, which means that it was looking for demonstration type of activities. So going closer to market deployment, but not market deployment. The estimated budget for this topic was 40 million. We explicitly requested that at least 2 African partners are part of the consortium on top of the normal eligibility condition for the consortium. The deadline is on the 26th of January. It is at the moment under evaluation. What I can say only at this stage is that it was an extremely successful topic in terms of proposal submission. We received 142 proposals that represents more than 2,000 participants. And you can see that almost half of those participants were from the African countries. In fact, 45 African countries are represented within those participants, which shows that's a strong need and hunger to have this collaboration with Europe. And also an important factor, and we were quite sort of it's not the word to be pleased, but sort of happy, is that all EU countries were represented in this call, which means that even from the European level, European side, there was a strong interest to work with Africa. Next slide, please. So now it comes to what we have done so far. And as sort of the idea that we did to implement the actions for research and innovation in this framework and this context, we were ambitious from the start. We immediately looked towards to do a joint programming with Africa and European partners on research and innovation actions in the field of renewable energy. I can tell you it was felt on our side very ambitious because the standard way that most of work is done is in fact through simple research projects. But what we wanted to have with the joint programming is to build capacity to promote science, including applied science, as a pillar in the development of sustainable energy in Africa, to contribute to technology take-up, obviously to strengthen the position of European institutions in Africa, but also to build up and has Vincent mentioned, trust on both sides, so we can look for long-term activities. And this, in fact, is your project. We will be also looking at specific dedicated research or innovation action to complement the actions of what you are going to do as LIPRE. And it is one of those topics and actions are the Green Deal core topics. And in that Green Deal core topics, while your project was not yet signed, so we could not mention it, we made reference to your projects to it. So that's next slide, please. Because your project will be a cornerstone on our activities. In terms of the climate change sustainable energy partnership, what we will continue is we will continue its implementation of the roadmap. So we will be looking forward to have more projects getting generated, and also to look at having this partnership sustainable and to grow. We will also implement and monitor the implementation and try to increase participation of more countries in this partnership. And we will be looking at more collaboration of those funding agencies. Because one aspect that's that you know all and very well in this project and this endeavor is that we provided only 50% of the funding, which means that you fund the other 50% to achieve the goal of the project, which for us was and felt to be important, that you own ownership and look forward also to a long-term partnership, so a commitment on both sides of the continent. From what we are going to do from the EC side is to use the tools that are in Northern Europe to help and pursue more work between European and African. But what we are also doing is to coordinate a bit more and a bit more efficient also between the other EC projects that are being managed under other colleagues. I mentioned the other director generals like NIR, which are looking at the close countries close to the European Union, and the other DG, which was International Partnership, INPA. You may have called its older name, it was DEFCO, which are more looking at deployment activity. So we are going to also link to what they are doing. So that's the research that you are creating and the new innovation you are creating in the project can be taken up in other programs, in other projects to have better and more efficient deployment. Next slide. As I said, sort of just now, LIPRE is a cornerstone, is a central part of our activity within this partnership. I use a term here, flagship actions, but the other landmark project or lighthouse projects are very relevant. As a type of project, it is the first of its kind. It's the first time we are using a research and innovation action to implement a program. So we are innovating in the term of using a specific an instrument and to use the full capacity of this instrument to help to implement this joint program. On top of that, as a flagship, you will have visibility, and we will use that visibility to put forward and to show that we can work together. So there will be a lot of requests from my side, and I guess also from the AUC side, sort of to present yourself and to show what are you what you are doing. And this is the other aspect that's just to put more stress on you, scrutiny, because you will be more visible. So people will really look at what you are doing. So there will be probably question from some people, but you have our supports, and this is something we will look. So you are not sort of in a little corner. You will be seen by a lot of people. On our side, from the CCSC partnership, the intention is to use Libre as also a central point to help monitoring coordination of all the CCSC implementation type of project. The work that we will be looking, and I will be discussing that also with Bernardo, it will still be within the scope of your grant. So we are not going to ask you to do more than what you ask to do, but it will still be within the scope of the grant. And this is linking to the third point, is we will make all the projects that we are financing to link with you, so that you can sort of gather lesson learned, possibly also identify from those projects what are the research and innovation needs that we need to tackle, and that you could judge that they are important. And also what we are looking is that you will be contributing to the work of our expert group. So as a workshop, participation to workshop, or with a report that you will be generating anyway in your projects. So those information, those will be the input that we are going to use. So as the message I try to give you is, you are important for us because you are sort of our policy instrument. And I stress also, you are here also to do research. So I know on the second pillar you have research projects. So I'm looking forward to look the excellent science you are going to do in those projects. And on the pillar 2, on pillar 1, where you are going to fund projects, I'm also very, very keen and with full of expectation of what kind of wonderful science and technology and research you are going to do in those projects you are going to fund directly. So I'm also trying to share my enthusiasm in your project and the strong expectation I have that you will be successful. I know that Vincente mentioned that it's a big consortium. There will be a challenge, and we are really aware of those challenges. The project is, from the policy side, will be monitored by myself. And this afternoon will be shown by my colleague from the executive agency. We will doing the other management of the project. We are going to work together. So this is sort of in short term my expectation and the framework that we're facing from the EU side. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Philippe, for that very detailed introduction. Is everybody able to hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah.
At least I can.
Well, thank you very much. I think that was very detailed. The is about the expectation from all of the partners, the investments that have been made, and most importantly, really the need to address both European and African challenges as we have outlined. So that was very comprehensive. I understand the slides that you've presented are also available. If people or participants can use the link that has been provided, they can access the presentation made by Philippe. We will go into a break shortly, but before we do, and questions that keep on popping up on your screen, asking you a set of questions. Please do respond. It helps us to get a sense of who you are, who is connected, and who you connected from, where you connected from. As indicated by my colleague, Tinyiko Njongwana, we'll be co-chairing the session in case the network disappoints us here and there. So don't be alarmed by that. We are jointly coordinating this session. Just a brief indication of where participants are connecting from. I see many from Italy, France, Kenya, South Africa, Switzerland, Spain, Finland, Zambia, Mozambique, Cameroon, Tanzania, Algeria. So we are very delighted that so many of you are connected from both Europe and Africa. So with that, we would like to take a short coffee break. Do grab your espresso cup and join us in a few minutes. It is now 11 minutes to 11 for those in the Central Eastern Time. We need to be back in a few minutes by 10 past 11. Those in Europe, it should be 11 minutes to 10. Please be back by 10 past 10 so that we can start with the second session of the program, Introduction to Libri. Do not disconnect completely. There will be questions that are asked as part of the icebreaker exercises during the break. Please do respond to those as well, and we'll connect back shortly, as indicated, 10 past 10, depending on where you are, or 10 past 11. Please don't delay in rejoining the session. Thank you very much.